3/4 of common sense.
Talk Radio.
The BBC is really suffering from a number of problems. That is, it's got a massive exodus of presenters. We know Emily Maitlis and John Sopel now leaving to go to Global, Andrew Marr going to Global, Hugh Edwards, who is dropping hints about leaving, Amal Rajan, again being courted by another channel. You've got Laura Koonsberg, who is stepping down as political editor, and Simon McCoy, who's gone to GB News. Clearly, Tim Davie wants to make sure there's neutrality across the BBC, and also 500 BBC News jobs have been scrapped. And, of course, being woke, it's moved the whole blinking lot up to Salford. And, of course, they wonder why you can't get any guests in Salford because the politicians are in London. I don't know if anyone's actually thought this through, and it makes me really angry, actually, because I think the BBC is in very grave danger of destroying itself. Enough ranting from me. I'm delighted to be joined by John Mair, who is a former BBC producer. More importantly, John, you created Question Time. You are a god.
No, I'm not a god. I was way down the food chain. I was researcher on the first 3 Question Times, which were invented in 1979 to find something for Robin Day to do during the 79 election. I was his gopher.
I love that. And in those days, you did have gophers. I remember when I joined the BBC, which was a long time ago, 1997. I used to have people to do everything. You know, we had makeup, we had wardrobe, we had people that ironed your shirts. You know, when you go into the independent sector, you do everything yourself. Do you think the BBC is in trouble of and really in danger of cannibalising itself?
No, I don't, David. I think the BBC has a big problem. It's stuck with the stupidest, the most ignorant culture secretary Britain has ever had in Nadine Dorris, who seems determined to destroy it. And she wants to destroy it because she wants to suck up to Boris all the time.
Why do you think she wants to destroy it, and what makes you think that?
Well, I see her actions, don't I? She said last week she's going to save the BBC from itself. So she's cut the licence fee effectively by freezing it for 2 years. She said the licence fee maybe won't exist next time round. It's not her decision, by the way. No, she is the most stupid culture secretary that ever has been.
Do you think there's a problem, though, that the BBC is trying to be all things to all men? It's trying to essentially programme to all sorts of different people. It's obviously spread its resources very thinly. You saw BBC Three moving online. It's moved back onto television. You're also competing with major global players now, with the likes of Amazon and Netflix. The BBC has a very difficult task, doesn't it, on a global stage?
Of course it does. Back to your Reesian principles. Reesian principle is universality. Everybody should get something out of the BBC, and everybody does. Something like 90% of people use the BBC for something in the course of the week. So, yes, it is competing in a massively changed market. But the way it's going to compete is good programming, and it does that brilliantly still. Not all the time, but brilliantly. It still does that.
And the younger generation, if you look at viewing figures, and it's very difficult, basically, when you did Question Time, I imagine you got 20 million or so watching Question Time. When I did Watchdog, we got 7.5 million. If you look at the figures now, you're lucky to get 2 million.
Well, the market's fragmented, So what? You expect that. So the BBC has to compete better and harder than it did before. BBC Three going onto the net was a stupid decision.
I would agree.
BBC makes bonkers decisions all the time. But what it will survive is people find something good to watch there each and every day, each and every night. So there's something in the BBC for them. But the licence fee is not sacrosanct. The BBC needs to think beyond the licence fee. Do you think that there is an argument to say that actually what we should do is take away the licence fee, have a subscription model and open it up to people around the globe? It's a global player. It's competing with Amazon. It's competing with Netflix. Wouldn't that make more sense? Because actually BBC News, when it's on point, is very good. I think it should be a thing called what I'd call licence fee plus. So you have a licence fee for the domestic audience for all the public service programmes, plus first run of dramas and entertainment and so on. And subscription, if you want to see it later on iPlayer, and a subscription around the world, because I've just come back from the Caribbean. And if you say the three letters BBC in the Caribbean, they fawn at you, because this is the gold standard in broadcasting. Do we want to destroy that? I don't.
No, and I don't either. I think the BBC has something to offer. I am very nervous about the tack it's taking. I agree with you that BBC Three should never have gone onto the internet. And actually, the premise behind BBC Three was to get a younger audience to try new shows at a fraction of the price, and then to move those onto the major networks. And I think that has worked to some degree.
Yeah, well, it was old men thinking they knew what youth wanted. It's the same in Radio 1. Radio 1 was created by a bunch of old men, if you remember, way back in 1967.
Well, it was. But why do we need a Radio 1 Extra? Why do we need that?
I mean, I would agree with you about digital channels because, a lot of that is very woke. Why do we need a black and a brown channel for Radio 1? Radio 1 Extra and what's the other one? The Asian Network. I agree. The BBC has to slim down, undoubtedly. It has 19,000 employees, 5,000 in news. It can do with a lot less than that.
Well, I think there are far too many people in there who are lifers. They've never had a real job. They've never been outside the BBC. That, again, it's a little bit like politicians. Shouldn't you have some experience before you work at the BBC?
So did I. I didn't go until I was 29. I'd worked as a teacher and in market research. So, I wasn't wet behind the ears. So, yes, and you should also throw people out regularly so they do go and do real jobs. Let me tell you a little story. Mark Thompson gave Mark Byford 10 years ago £1 million to stay on at the BBC because he wanted to keep him in there because of his commercial value. How many jobs has Mark Byford had since leaving the BBC?
None.
Zero.
It's just a wild stab in the dark.
but I mean, let's go back to the talent. I mean, why is
the talent leaving?
Yeah, well, money and freedom. I mean, we never get to know how much the talent's leaving for because the BBC is the BBC. You get to know exactly how much everybody earns. How much are they going to LBC for? When is LBC going to tell us that? How much is Andrew Marr going? And also freedom, because Tim Davies is stuck in this cleft stick of having to prove impartiality to the awful Nadine Dorris, and so he has to clamp down on people. And they don't like it. Journalists like to gob off about this, that, and everything.
What did you make of the move to Salford? It cost millions of pounds. Was it the right decision?
Good. It was my friend Mark Thompson's decision.
Was it a good one? Why was it a good one?
Well, it was a good one because it took the BBC out of London. Anyway, they've shoehorned people in there. People like sport and religion. They've got much better for their breakfast time. They don't get any guests because their guests are all remote. Who's going to come to Salford? But there's going to be more of that because the BBC has to be seen to be a national broadcaster. Channel 4 is doing it. They go to Leeds and Glasgow. The BBC is not the London BBC. It's the BBC for everybody.
Just playing the other side, there is one thing I want to talk about, which is the soft diplomacy of the BBC. You mentioned the fact that actually around the world, if you say BBC, people know who you are and what you're talking about. And of course, the BBC has reach to many countries which don't have access to any other form of news. Am I right in thinking that World Service is still paid for in a different manner as a direct grant from government, or does that come out of the licence fee?
No, you're not. Quite a lot of that's paid for the licence fee. The World Service should be totally and completely paid for by the government.
I think it should.
Yeah, there's no reason for any BBC, any licence payers' money to go into that. So, Radio Ukraine now, Radio Russia, they're providing absolutely valuable resources. So if the government wants soft power, pay for it.
Do you think one of the other things is that what we should be doing at the BBC is once they have talent, they need to get them to do a few shows to ensure that they're getting value for money? It seems to me that actually they have too many people on too much money. They're being paid more than parliamentarians and they're being paid more than the Prime Minister. That cannot be right.
Well, how much would you pay Gary Lineker to stay on Match of the Day?
Nothing.
He's an absolutely rare talent. Seriously.
How is he? No, I mean, how is he a rare talent? Yeah, he knows a bit about football. I don't believe that. I simply don't believe he is worth that sort of money.
Well, watch Match of the Day. He's probably not worth $2 million, but the talent has pushed its price up at the BBC, and that's probably been, the BBC should have resisted a bit more and say, look, you're working for the BBC. The limit is 200,000. If you don't like that, shove off.
Well, I totally agree with that. And I have to tell you, when I was doing Watchdog, I was then given Watchdog Health Check, and I got another £500 for a show for a week.
Did you?
Yes, that was all we got.
But you got a salary as well.
So I had a salary, but I can tell you the increment was only £500 a week to do another show.
Well, that's still $25,000 a year, which is more than the average income. So,
no, indeed. But all I'm saying, there needs to be some cap on the salaries that we're paying at the BBC, because otherwise it's ridiculous.
I mean, it became a talent inflation, stupidly, and they all watch each other's salaries, of course, and say so and so is getting 200,000, I want 205. And so yes, I mean the BBC should have put a limit on it, but Thompson initially wouldn't let the talent figures out, and he was right, because once you do that, you encourage people to say, are they worth it?
Just finally, there's been a lot of criticism about the coverage of COVID from the BBC. They felt that it was very much the government's mouthpiece. Would you agree with that, or do you think it was impartial?
Well, I've seen some brilliant stuff on COVID. I mean, I've seen John Mair's stuff on the news and so on. What I don't think has been enough of is analysis. I think there's been lots of figures. Well, explain it to me. What's it all about? So, yes, I mean, but people turn to the BBC for their COVID news and to the other broadcasters. But I mean, at the moment, where are people looking for news on Ukraine? The BBC and ITV.
And Talk Radio.
Good talk. Hot talk.
Bold talk. Talk Radio.
Listen on your smart speaker.
Watch it live on your smart TV.
The world headquarters of common sense.
Talk Radio.